So hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the problem make AB same from the latest Codechef starters 82. So at first read the problem statement. So in this problem you are given two binary arrays A and B of size greater than 3, right? And you can perform the following operation on array A. Select three indices I, J, K such that I is less than j and j is less than k, right? And you can change, you can set aj equals to or of ai, az and ak, right? Here this symbol denotes the bitwise or operation, and you have to determine whether it is possible to convert array a to b by applying any number of given operations, right? So note both the AB are binary arrays, means they consist 0 and 1 only, right? And the info format is like that. So let's understand the problem and conclude some observations, right? So in this question you have given two binary arrays, right? A and B, both are binary arrays. A and B. So let's take one and so yeah. So how can we take I comma j comma k? We can I comma such that I is less than j and uh, j is less than greater than I and j is less than k, right? And we can set this set a j as the or of all three, or, right? So from this we can conclude that from this we can conclude that uh, we have to set aj, right? So from this we can say that if the last means in the array a, in the array 0, right? So if these two elements are not same as b, because we can't change these two elements, because we have to we can set only the mid element, and if we take these indices, these are either the first or the last. So that's why we can't set these the first and the last. So that's why we can't set the first and the last element of the array. So that's why we can convert only if both these, the first and the last indices, are same as b, right? So from this we can conclude that uh, if from the we can conclude that if a0 equals to b0 and if a n minus 1 equals to b n minus 1, then we can check further. If these two are not equal, then we just return no, right? Because we know we can only set the jth index from the operation. We can only set, we have choose three indices in such a way, and we can only set the jth index, right? So in the first and the last are, so the first and the last element, we can't take the first and the last element anyhow. So it should be compulsory that the first and the last should be equal. So from this we conclude that we can move further if first and the last are same. If the first and last in both the arrays are not same, then we have to return no, right? And let's check further. So yeah, so we conclude first one observation from that. And now, so let's say array A is like we have to convert array A to B. So array is like 0 1 0 0 1 0 1, right? And array B, we have to convert A to B. So right, so this should be 0, and this should be 0, this should be 1, this should be 1, this should be 1 0 1. So so think, so we can set an index. So we can set an index in array. We can set these indexes, right? We can set these indexes. We can set from this to this. We can set these indexes, right? So we can set any index a as the or of, as the or of I comma j comma I or comma j comma k, right? So we can set as the or of all the three. So if we want, um, so if I want to convert A to B, so in this position we need 0. So but if I do or with any one, any element, means here only 1 and 0. So if I or 1 with any with 0 or 1, so this always gives me 1. So if our index is set with 1, we can't set it to 0, right? But if an index set to 0, so let us say, so this is a specific index. If it sets to 1, so we can't set this index to 0, right? And if an index set to 0, then we can set it to 0 or 1. We have possibility. But if a index set to 1, in this we can't set it to 0, right? Because the or operation of all three always gives me 1. So that's why if at any given index in A, if it have 1, and the same index on B if it having 0, so in this uh, array we also don't convert A to B, right? Because we can't set 1 to 0. We have choice to set 0 to 1, but we don't have choice to set 1 to 0. So from this we conclude that if A index is equals to 1 and B, the same B index equals to 0, then we just have to return no, right? Because we know we can't set a given, we can't set 1 to 0. We only set 0 to 0 or 0 to 1. We are only play with 0. We can't play with 1. If a specific index having 1, so we can't set it to 0. So right, so this is the general operation, general thing we conclude. So as of now we conclude two things, right? Means we from as of now we conclude that as of now we conclude a0 should equals to b0 and an minus 1 equals to bn minus 1. Then we proceed further, and if this should not be equal to, we just return no. And if this should be, this satisfy the conditions, then we check for this, means no in for every index, for every index till 0 to n, we have to check a index. If a index equals to 1 and b index should be equals to 0, b index equals to 0, then we have to return no, right? So we check for two, as of now, for two conditions, right? So uh, so conditions, yeah. and then so let's take the example from this. So first is example, right? So yeah, so a equals to 0 1 0 0 1 and b equals to 0 1. So right, we have to transform a to b. So yeah, so we check for the first and last. So both the first and last are same, and we check for, yeah, both are same, right? So if you want, and these two are also same, and no one. So yeah, so if I take uh, this, so ijk as these three ijk. So I can set this to 1 or 0 or 0. So this gives me 1. So I can easily set this to 1. So I can set this to 1. And similarly, if I take these three as ijk, I can set this to 1. Right? So I can set this to 1. So this should also set this to 1. So both the A and B are same. So and one thing is also one small thing. If A having all 0 and let's be having 0 0 0 1, right? So if in the array we don't have any 1, so how can we set any mm, position at 1, position as 1, right? So we also need uh, at least one to set other elements. And we know if we follow this condition, we can construct p from a to b, right? So we are only looking for 2 3 conditions which I mentioned above. So let's uh, see the code for this, right? So, yeah, so in this I declare a variable n which stores the number of elements in both the array. So I declare a vector which store a and b, and I make a test and check, uh, and then I store c and I initialize c and d with 0, which stores the number of ones in both. So right, so I run a loop and take input in the array, and then check the number of ones in array A, and I then take array B inputs in B, and then I check if somehow A is not means if at an index AI is not equals to B, then I may text to 0. So basically the test is for I'm checking if both the array A and B are same, and we don't have to do anything. So that's why I'm checking this. And in D I store the number of ones in B, and similarly in the check I check for if at any given index AI gives me 1 and BI gives me 0. So in this in at that ith index I can't set the ith index to 0 if it is already 1. So that's why I have to check 1 in this. And if the test is 1, then I have to return yes, because if test is 1, then both the arrays should be same. So don't have to do anything. And if the mm, the first and the last element in both the elements are not same, then we have to return no, because in this we can't change the first and the last element as we only set the jth index set. And if say 0 means we need at least one 0, right? And if the check is 1 means if at any given index I found AI as 1 and BI as 0, then we have to return no. And if it's follow all these three conditions, all the two conditions, then we have to simply return yes, because in this case I can construct A to B. So I hope the problem should be clear to you all. Thank you.